This past week during E3, we received a lot of gameplay showcasing a few worlds from the upcoming Spyro Reignited Trilogy. I've spent some time watching and analyzing the gameplay, and I wanted to talk about some of the things that I noticed. Some good things and some bad things. First, I want to say that the game is looking really good, and a lot of the bad things I'm pointing out are mostly just small nitpicks. The first thing I noticed is that the camera works most similarly to the way it did in Spyro 3, with Spyro being closer to the bottom of the screen. At certain moments it does feel as if the camera is a bit too close to Spyro, but that's probably because in the first two games Spyro is often more centered in the screen. I might prefer for Spyro to be more centered in the screen, but I couldn't say for sure until I play the game. Another thing that might make the games easier is that you seem to be able to use Spyro's flame attack much faster than before. I can't say for sure, but it also seems like the flames might reach slightly further than they did in the originals. The art gallery in Toasty contains our first glimpse at autumn plains from Spyro 2. I like that they added this in, it makes the games feel more connected. I really like the thought of Nevin visiting Avalar and painting this beautiful castle in autumn plains. Speaking of Nevin, the voice actor for Nevin does a great job. Actually, the voice acting for all the dragons we've heard so far sound really good. I do have one tiny nitpick about Nevin's voice acting though. His very last line makes it seem like he's saying the word sleeve, but with an FT on the end. Sleeved.
Toasty has many tricks up his sleeve. Sleeved. Sleeved.
I can't watch this cutscene anymore without noticing it. I especially love Spyro's voice. I was really happy to hear that Tom Kenny would be reprising his role as Spyro in these 3 games. Tom Kenny is an amazing voice actor and I love his work. I also really like the models for the new dragons. Each of the dragons have been given accessories and items to make them feel more personalized. This really breathes some life into the game in a whole new way. I know not everyone is going to agree with me about this. A lot of us will remember the response that came from the reveal of Nestor's model in the announcement trailer.
Flappin' Flotsam, what's that?
Seriously, it's just a hat. I'm not in love with Nestor's model, but it's not like it's going to ruin the game. Wait, you know what just occurred to me? There's no female dragons in the original game. I think it would be cool if they added some in. They may have to change some names to fit, but I wouldn't mind. It wouldn't be too bad if they just replaced one of the dragons that only say, "Thank you for releasing me," with a female dragon. Hell, go ahead and replace any dragons with a female. It would make more sense to the game. Am I just supposed to assume that all the female dragons didn't get frozen by Nasty Nork and they just said, "Okay Spyro, good luck fighting Nasty Nork. Even though you're basically just a kid, I'm sure you'll be fine." The gem counter is slightly different than it was in the original games. In the original games, the counter would hit every number before reaching your current total. So if you collect 10 gems, the counter would gradually rise from 1 to 10, hitting every number in between. Now, the counter updates to the current amount immediately, skipping the numbers in between. I think the original way is much better. I really like watching the counter tick up and up. It's especially enjoyable during the part in Spyro 3 where you get to finally chase down money bags and take all your gems back. Even after you finish him off, the gem counter still takes a good amount of time to finish ticking up. It's awesome to be able to just sit back and watch it keep going and going. I'm crossing my fingers that this gem counter is a temporary one and that they'll fix it before releasing the game. Sparx now has different animations for each color that he changes to. While he's yellow, he looks normal and happy. Turning blue causes his tail to droop slightly and his eyes go a bit squinty. Turning green, his tail droops even more and his eyes are even squintier. The noise for the egg thief is okay, I guess? The original sound for the egg thieves is iconic for these games, and I can't help but want it to be closer to the original. This won't affect my overall enjoyment of the game, but I'm slightly disappointed that it's not how I remember. When you collect a key for the locked chest, an oversized key icon appears on the screen, and it stays there until you unlock the chest. I find this somewhat distracting, as it even stays there during cutscenes. I think they should change this to match the original games, where the key would only appear on screen briefly before disappearing. You can then check the pause menu to confirm that you still have it. Something cool that they added is that the gem thieves actually hold gems in their hands now. I only have a few things to say about the Sunny Flight level. The icons for the different items and enemies Spyro has to destroy are placed below Spyro and in the center of the screen. Much like the key icon, I find this somewhat distracting, as the icons are even placed over top of Spyro at certain points. In order to fix this, I would just move the icons to the side of the screen. The only other thing I have to say about Sunny Flight is that when you break the golden chests, they make a weird sound. It's not too distracting, but it just seems like a weird sound for a chest to make. After freeing a dragon and the cutscene ends, I noticed that there seems to be a small bug that you might not notice at first. After the cutscene ends, there's a few frames shown from one perspective very briefly before switching to a different one. This creates a very jarring sort of jump cut effect. Even Nevin's model has a weird jump cut when his cutscene ends. The last thing I'd like to mention is how the camera moves while Spyro is gliding. As you glide, the camera moves upward, forcing Spyro closer to the bottom of the screen. This is the opposite of how the camera worked in the original games. The camera would move down, centering Spyro in the screen. Moving the camera upward might make gliding difficult and somewhat awkward, as you might not be able to tell where you're going to land. YouTuber Erin S, aka Miharu, also posted her analysis of the gameplay released during E3. Miharu points out that the sound of the egg thieves continue to play during the cutscenes. This is very distracting and should be simple enough to fix.
I think it's really distracting how you can hear the thief taunt you in the background of the cutscene.
Miharu posts a lot of Spyro-related content on her channel. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to mention is that a few weeks ago they released the official cover art for the game. As great as it looks, I couldn't help but notice that Sparx was nowhere to be found. This isn't the first time Sparx missed out on something like this. Out of all the Spyro games, Sparx has only appeared on the cover of A Hero's Tale. He doesn't even appear on the cover of Enter the Dragonfly, and you'd think he would considering the title of the game. I've always considered Spyro and Sparx to be a classic duo in gaming like Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, and Banjo and Kazooie. So why doesn't Sparx ever get any recognition? He's literally taking hits for Spyro. Hashtag justice for Sparx. So that's just about everything that I noticed and wanted to talk about. Let me know in the comments if you noticed anything else in the gameplay, and if you disagree with any of the points that I've made in this video, let me know why. I'm really looking forward to the release of this game in September this year. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and all of that other fun stuff.